So I wanted to make this video to talk about coming out to my friend as trans. Um, I've known him for about 10 years. I tell him everything, but coming out was still kind of hard, especially because I hadn't really expected to do it that day. So um, he knew I had already cut my hair, but he hadn't seen all of the physical changes I had went through. So we were just sitting there with another friend, and my best friend just mentioned that he liked the new me and that he was happy to see the change. He said that before I confused him because some days he would look at me as one of the guys, and then another day he'd see me and I'd be completely made up with the makeup and the dresses and all that stuff. And that he didn't really know which one I wanted to be or how he should have acted around me or whatever he tried to describe it as. I don't know, but basically I did not expect him to accept it at all, simply because he's really religious. He doesn't have a problem with gay people, but he just doesn't believe it's that born this way. It's more of a choice. So I honestly didn't know how he was going to accept it. And then our other friend was there, and he pretty much didn't have an issue with it, but I think he still thinks that I'm just a stud, a butch lesbian. And we talked about it for a while, but I didn't go into too much detail at the time. And then we had a couple drinks, well, a lot of drinks, and I started getting really sick, even though I hadn't drank too much. And I told them it was probably because of my medication. And my best friend asked me what was I taking, and I told him trazodone and Zoloft because I didn't think he would actually know what they were. As it turns out, he did know what the Zoloft was, and he kind of flipped out a little bit because he said I shouldn't be taking something like that. And it kind of just went from me being sick to telling them everything. Um, I told them about the depression, about the not sleeping. Um, I told them about the self-harming, and I don't think he really got it until it was dark, so I took off my top shirt and I let him feel my arm, which is where the worst scars are, and I think that's when it kind of like became real. And he asked me what depressed me the most, what I thought would fix it, and I told him that I felt, most of it was loneliness or self-hatred, not being to accept that someone is your friend even after they're there for you. And so we had a long, really long discussion about it, and that was something I had never expected because um, I don't know, around the people I know, I try not to let them know. So no one in my family, none of my other friends really knew about the depression. They really don't know about the self-harming. Um, I don't know. We kind of just, it happened. We talked about it a lot, and then we started talking more about being transgender because he had a lot of questions. He was really open, curious, wanted to know exactly how far I wanted to go, what I wanted to do next. Um, I don't know. He said he was happy for me, and he seemed happy, which I hadn't expected at all. Um, he told me that he had already been reading up on stuff like that because he felt it was interesting. So the night ended up going okay. They gave me a lot of information they felt I needed about women and about being a man, and how even though I feel I'm a man, that the way I see things in situations wouldn't be the same as how they see them. So they felt I needed to know some stuff. And then we were sitting in our car, um, just sitting. We kind of live in a. I live in the center of the street, and then the other guy, his grandma lives across the street, 2 houses down, and then the other one is back on the other side of the street where I am, but a couple houses down, so it's like a triangle. And so we were on the opposite side of the street, in front of his house, in the car, and a cop car came down the street really slow with the spotlight on. They kind of flashed the light, and the car kept going by. It was after 2 o'clock. It was about 2:15 in the morning. They went down to the middle of the block, which is where my house is. They made a U-turn. They stopped, and they just sort of sat there at the corner. We kind of figured they were calling backup for what, we had no idea, but you can kind of just tell. So we sat there. We didn't do anything. We less than 5 minutes later, another cop car came. One parked right beside us. The other parked on the opposite side of the street. The one guy, he was kind of, he wasn't very threatening. He went to my friend's side of the car. He asked him if he had ID. Asked him to get out of the car, which my friend did. I don't know. I was kind of confused, and I become really nervous around cops simply because of all the horror stories you hear. And the officer who asked my friend to get out of the car was white. There was a second cop who was black, who was on the passenger side, which is where I was sitting, and then my friend was in the back passenger side of the car. And he was kind of like, the windows were rolled up, but he was kind of like in my face, saying that I was acting like I was in a hurry to get out of the car. Really, I was just really confused on what was going on. So he had me get out of the car. He kind of manhandled me. He had me up against the car for a while. He had me put my hands behind my head, lock the fingers, and then he saw my chest, and that's when he asked me if I was a woman. And so, I said yeah. So he patted me down, felt my wallet, asked me if I had ID. I said yeah. He couldn't find it, so he had me pull it out, which he never actually checked. Then they had us all get down the curb, lock the ankles, whatnot. The white officer was very friendly. Well, not very friendly, but he was very calm. He described what had happened. That apparently, I don't know, there was something else going around a couple blocks over. But the black officer was acting like a real tough guy, and just, I don't know, he was really rough with my other friend. He handcuffed him and all that stuff, which was really uncalled for. Um, I don't know. That was kind of like I've been pulled over before by cops, but then it was obvious that I was a woman, and they weren't harsh with me at all. They're very calm. As a man, my experience with the cops it was a lot different, because you hear about it, but I don't think you really get it until it happens. So the coming out was great. Um, Actually telling my friend that about the depression, and and all of that stuff. That was great too, I guess, because now it's kind of out there. He knows. I don't feel like I have to hide it anymore. The cops kind of ruined the night, so that was really scary because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was dark, and I know people who have been really hurt by cops simply because the officer claimed they felt threatened. So I'm just glad we stayed really calm, so they had no reason to do anything else. But that was my day.